by hand to see whether or not.
By hand, yeah. He wants to see some other examples for sure. Yeah, so try proving some different stuff instead of just like one literal, try to prove plots, try to prove another like CNF, kind of thing. Like just try a couple different things. Yeah, to make sure it works out. Yeah.
I'm not viewing the purpose here.
The
knowledge base for the one. I'm not feeling
You're supposed to feel the pain. That's what it's supposed to feel.
I am feeling that. It wasn't over that was the first.
Well, I mean that's how initially that's how it was done, right? So let's
sure. Well, like,
and then
having everyone do it instead.
I feel
like this is like a thing where you want to give someone a lot to make this new
asking me about the purpose of
they're
this
going
stuff.
to adding tons of new ones. He said we're doing more work, and our people was all instead of doing work. He said it's doing the same function next time. And so for our
I don't really know. Like, are we using just the noise?
but we should do a little bit more of everything. It's more complicated. Explain, and then I think it's up to that. We put a little bit of the information we have from our clauses in our data. Remember how you said the lobby board did so much verification, some of that question was and the other part?
Yep.
Man, we should ask him about the analysis and
That's what he literally told us.
Yeah.
I know.
No, I know.
I know that he said.
He said like how does he spread out like things.
So as I said, if you feel like it's based on your question you're asking. You can just say what's the I was planning on doing Put them, you single living room.
We'll say, you guys, I won't be able to see someone in this group and one is sitting.
I don't think I'll say any of them.
Yeah, right, I was on for myself, say, maybe today, you guys want to go ahead.
I can see.
We'll go over Thursday.
All right, let's get started. So today we're going to switch gear initially, at least for the first part of the lecture, because Lab 2, which was released last week, and many of you have started working on that. And you probably noticed that for Lab 2, you need to do really two things. One is to design and implement buffer replacement policy for the buffer manager in SimpleDB, and then you will proceed with the implementation of B+3 index, which we haven't talked about yet. So instead of continuing the discussion on designing a good hash function, I want to switch gear and come back and talk about B+3 briefly. Hopefully I will be able to wrap up this discussion in about 30 to 40 minutes. Then I will continue where we stopped last Thursday on the discussion of designing good hash function. By the end of that discussion, that wrap up our discussion on indexing and all that. And we will switch gear yet again to a totally different topic. Okay? So that's kind of a recap of what we did and a kind of quick summary of what we will be doing today. Just a quick reminder, we also released Homework 2, Written Assignment 2 last week. And we have 2 weeks, including today. We have 4 more lectures before the fall break. And right after the fall break, the first lecture after the fall break will be the midterm test, right? Just a reminder for you guys. And a quick heads up on that, the scope of your midterm test basically will be Written Assignment 1 and Written Assignment 2. So the best way to prepare for your midterm is to make sure you understand all the problems as well as the solutions provided in Written Assignment 1 and Written Assignment 2. Of course, you will not be given the exact same problems as you found from Homework 1 and 2, but you will be given the same types of problems from Homework 1 and 2. And midterm will be open book, meaning that you can access all the lecture slides as well as written assignment 1, 2, and their solutions. That's the scope of what I mean by open. Okay? So you can access all the lecture slides as well as written sample 1, 2, and their solutions. Okay? So that's kind of a heads up on that. So with that being said, any questions so far? Okay. All right. So I will proceed with the discussion on B+3. So a quick reminder. So we talked about data entry, right? A data entry, unless otherwise specified, we're gonna assume alternative 2 for your data entry. And a quick recap: what alternative 2 is for data entry is essentially this is a search key value. Search key value K, and this is essentially a RD. Right? If you are using alternative 2, right? RD, you can kind of view this just as a pointer that gives you the location of the record from the underlying heap file. Okay, so that's kind of a recap. This is essentially a data entry. So to generalize that concept a little bit more, we're going to introduce the concept of what we call index entries. So an index entry consists of two things. The index entry has a search key value K, such as from the values from K1, K2 to Kn. The 1, 2 until n is just a subscript to index different search key values from different index entries. Okay, and a set of pointers, and each pointer is nothing else but a page ID. So basically, an index entry is similar to this. It also has a search key value K and a page ID. And this is a page ID. Okay. So what an index entry does is to locate, a page from lower level from this tree-like structure where a particular range of values should locate at. Pretty much like a binary tree, right? All of you should know a binary tree, right? If you think about a binary tree is an in-memory data structure where each node has a value attached to it. Then all the value less than the value on that node goes to the left of the tree. All the values greater than or equal to the value of that node goes to the right-hand side of your tree. Right? So that's kind of the basic concept behind binary tree. So what we are doing here is to generalize that concept, okay, and extend each node. Instead of having just a single value as you have in a binary tree, we allow each node to have multiple values, to index multiple subtrees instead of just two subtrees, left and right. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what's going on here. Okay. So the way you can view this is all the values on the search key attribute who is less than the value of K1 will be located on this page with page ID P0. All the values on the search key field greater than or equal to the value of K1 but less than the value of K2 will be located on this page called P1, which is a page ID, and so on and so forth. Okay? So it's nothing else but a generalization of your binary tree. You may wonder why you want to do such a generalization, right? The reason is to make it I/O efficient and I/O friendly. What I mean by that is if you take a binary tree as it is and place binary tree on disk, what would happen? What would happen? Well, each node goes to a page by itself. Does that make sense? So that's a waste of your page space. A page, as we know, is about 4 kilobytes or 8 kilobytes. And you're using 4 kilobytes of space to store a single value and two pointers. if you were to just store a single node on a binary tree, that's a total waste of your space. Furthermore, not only it end up wasting your space, if you use this as your data structure, you load a node in binary tree that's like paying one IO, reading a page from disk. You just, one IO just give you a single value and tell you to go left or right. That's a little bit waste of your IO as well. So a simple way to fix that is to say, okay, I'm going to pack as many values as possible, as well as many as, this left and right branches into a single page as much as I can, so that I save disk space, as well as I end up saving a lot of IOs when I traverse through this tree.
So I guess why can't you store, like if you had a binary tree example, why couldn't you store like multiple nodes on a single page?
Excellent question, and that's essentially what's going on here. Let me illustrate this using a special example. Okay. So Gideon's question is essentially, goes to the fundamental design behind B+tree, right? Gideon's question was, why don't you just pack multiple binary tree nodes into a single page? But if you think deeper about this picture here, that's actually exactly what's going on. So a binary tree looks like this, right? A simple binary tree. Yeah. Okay? Right? Does that make sense? And if you were to use the naive idea I mentioned earlier, this goes to a page. So this page has a single value and two page ID 1, page ID 2. Pointers are in the context of these pages, the pointers become just page IDs. And this is another page, page ID 1, page ID 2. Another page with page ID 1, page ID 2, where the search key value is 20, 15, and 25 for those three pages respectively. Does that make sense? But you end up wasting, a lot of space. I mean, the picture is, dramatic, much more dramatic than I drew here, but you can imagine what's going on, right? The page is much bigger than just storing a single value with two page IDs. Does that make sense so far? Yes? So you end up wasting a lot of this space. And when you are traversing down this tree, you are paying 1 IO per node, loading per binary tree node, which is, very expensive. So the idea is, why not you quote-unquote pack them into a single page as much as you can. So this versus this design versus what? Versus you pack all of them into a single page. And of course, you don't pack just this three nodes. This is just for illustration purposes. You pack as much as you can until you kind of run out of that space on that page. Does that make sense? And these pointers are simply page IDs. Of course, this page, if you look at this particular value here, 20, the two page ID values no longer correspond to these two page ID values because you are no longer loading these two pages. These two pages are non-existent anymore. Does that make sense? So what should be these two page IDs? Well, they should be this one and this one. Because you are getting rid of this layer altogether. And you pull down 20, so the picture kind of become like 20 is coming down here. So these two page ID become this and this. Does that make sense? So essentially what we are doing is exactly what Dylan proposed in his question, which is packing as many nodes as possible into a single page, using a binary tree as the backbone of your design, and then pack as many nodes as possible into a single page. That's essentially what's going on here. And this particular technique is called, actually the name for this, the terminology for this is called blocking. Okay, it's called blocking. Okay, that means that we formalize this design, and this becomes an index entry. The value search key value page ID. This is another page, index entry. This is another index entry. Search key value and page ID. So we have 3 index entries in this example. What about the first guy? That P0 here, the pointer 0 or page ID 0. So that's a special entry that has only a page ID without an index value. Without an index value. So in other words, the way you can kind of understand a binary tree now is a binary tree is simply at each node you have a single index entry with a leftmost page ID or leftmost pointer. That's the way you understand binary tree. A B-path tree is a generalization of that, where each node is a page and containing multiple index entries plus one leftmost page ID / pointer. So far so good? No question on this? Okay. So this is a recall. I will skip this part. So B-path tree has 2 versions. The first version is just like the hashing index discussion. If you think about the discussion we had on hashing index, we started with the static case, right? Static hashing. Easy, simple to understand, but the downside is if you have unbalanced distribution, eventually you have this long chain of overflow buckets and make the hash index, the static hash index, not as useful as it should be. That's why we went on and talked about dynamic hashing. There are 2 alternatives, linear hashing and asynchronous hashing. So just as that discussion, how that was developed, here we're going to talk about 2 alternatives as well. The first one is the simple case where we'll assume no updates. So it's a static data set. You are given a set of data to index, that's it. Assuming no further updates. That's the static case. For that static case, there's a particular terminology. People don't use this terminology that often today, but it still shows up from time to time. It's called ISAM, Indexed Sequential Access Method. Indexed Sequential Access Method. You may wonder why it is named this particular way. We will come back and explain the naming of it once we understand the structure of it. Okay. It is an index designed to facilitate sequential access. So that's why it's called indexed sequential access method. And in fact, if you look at MySQL supports different storage engines. The default storage engine in MySQL is my ISAM. Now you know what ISAM means. Of course, another popular storage engine in MySQL is called InnoDB. There are some significant difference of the 2. We will talk about the difference of the 2 later on. We're not able to talk about them yet, because in order to understand the difference of the 2, you need to understand transactions. We don't have that discussion yet. But at least for now, you understand, okay, the default storage engine for MySQL is called my ISAM. And the reason for that is that storage engine is optimized for query access. For query access, query evaluation, not for transaction ad hoc updates. And we decided to name the storage engine after this particular index method. Okay, ISAM. Okay, that's where the name came from. Okay. So you can simply. So there are tons of discussion online. If you just Google, this is one of the most popular discussion on MySQL. the default storage in keep in mind, if you install MySQL out of box, it is using MySAM storage engine. Now you know what the ISAM stands for, okay? Okay, so what is this ISAM? Well, it's a really old-fashioned idea, but being old doesn't mean it's a bad idea, okay? It's just an old idea. It's designed for static data set, and it's designed for facilitating sequential access. So the idea is as follows. Your target is to support range search. Range search such as find all student with GPA greater than 3.0, or find all student with GPA between 3.0 and 3.5. All of these are range queries. So, your idea is to answer such queries as quickly as you can. If you recall the discussion we said before, if you were to answer this using a heap file, what's the cost? Using a heap file, cost is N over B. Because you have to linear scan the whole thing in order to be sure you are not short of any records in the range. Right? So it's N over B. Best case, worst case is all N over B. You have to scan everything to make sure you are not missing any data in the range. If you use a sorted file on the other hand, what happens? Well, you have to do a binary search to find the first record in your range, which is in the worst case, you have to pay this many IOs to finish that binary search. Plus, suppose the output size is T, you can do sequential scan afterwards because they are sorted. Of course, assuming they are sorted with respect to your search attribute. For example, if I'm doing search on GPA and the file is sorted with respect to first name, then literally it's just a heap file. It's not a sorted file to me. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so keep this in mind. Whatever we design, better beats both of them. Otherwise, what's the point? You spend so much effort talking about a particular design and turn out not to be not as good as either of this, then what's the point? Does that make sense? Right? So whatever we design must be better than this. Obviously, this is better than this. This is much larger than this. In other words, this is better than that. This is better than that. Okay, the reason is typically T is much smaller than N. Right? T is the number of record in your range, and N is the total number of record in your data. Right? T obviously is much smaller than N. Okay? So with that in mind, what is the design of ISAM? The idea is actually quite straightforward. It's essentially the packing idea, the blocking idea I mentioned, packing a binary tree. But how do we, specifically how we do this? Well, the idea is as follows. Look at this picture here. So suppose this is my heap file, right, at the bottom, which contain some number of pages. Now, to be consistent with my notes so far, I'm going to change this to page N over B. Okay, N number record N over B is number of pages I have in my data file. Alright? So I simply have N over B pages. Whether they are sorted or not, it doesn't really matter. It could be sorted, it could be also not sorted, just like a typical heap file. It doesn't really matter. So what I will do is I will use alternative 2. Suppose I'm using alternative 2, which is search key value and record ID. And I basically collect all the data entries I have. So how many data entries should I have if I do that? If I use alternative 2, I collect all the data entries. How many data entries should I have? You have N records, right? So how many data entries you should have? N, right? Because you are using alternative 2. Each data entry contains a single RID. So if you have N records, you must have N data entries. Period. Right? So you have N data entries. So these are my data entries. Starting from K1, K2, K3, K4. These are different search key values. So how many of these data entries you have? I just said you have n. You have n data entries. Now, what do you do with them? Well, think them as the leaf level of your quote-unquote binary tree. What happens to the leaf level of binary trees? What happens to the leaf level of binary tree? They are sorted. A leaf level of binary tree is sorted. That make sense? So you collect this n data entries and you sort them. You sort them with respect to the search key value k. In other words, in this arrangement, we must have k1 less than or equal to k2, and k2 less than or equal to k3, and so on and so forth. So far so good? And because of that, the page IDs, the RID, the record IDs associated with those data entries, if you're gonna view them as pointers, they may end up crossing over each other. Why is that? Because the order of the data entries may no longer correspond to the orders of records in the data file anymore. Does that make sense? For example, my records in the data file may be sorted by first name, but my search key value is GPA, so data entries end up being sorted by the GPA field. So the pointers end up crossing over each other because the order of data entries no longer corresponds to the order of those records. Okay? So far so good? Now the next one is the most critical step, which is I have this n data entries and I sort them already. Now I need to store them. We're designing a data structure that's supposed to go to pages, right? So how do I store them? Well, I know they're gonna go to, in the best case scenario, you have to use at least how many pages to store this data entries? In the best case, how many pages you need to store this data entries? Well, that depends how many data entries you can pack into a single page. We talked about this, and one of you asked a question in Canvas as well. We use the notation B prime for that. And B prime is simply the page size, which I use page size P, which is number of bytes per page, divided by the size of a data entry. Right? That tells you how many data entries, in the best case, you can fit into a single page. Of course, if you want to be precise, it should be the floor of this. If you want to be precise. So that's the notation of B prime. Now, given n data entries and B prime data entries per page, how many pages I need in total to store them in the best case? Huh?
N for D prime.
N over B prime. And the ceiling of that. You take the ceiling of that. But what can we say about this value? This is much, much less than N over B. Why? Because B prime will be much greater than B. Right? Because B is what? B is, we said this multiple times, B is simply the page size divided by the record size. And the record size obviously is much, much larger than the data entry size. You do all the math, you end up with this conclusion here. So in other words, the number of pages you need to store this data entries is going to be much less than the number of pages you need to store what? The records themselves. Okay, that's a key observation, okay, from our analysis. So fine, we're going to pack them. That means that we simply pack them into pages. How many you pack? That's a tricky decision, right, to make. In the extreme case, you pack every B prime of them into a page. You store the data entries and every B prime of them go to a page. In our case, Suppose B prime equal to 4. Suppose B prime equal to 4. So I'm packing every 4 data entries into a page. From left to right, very simple. You sort them, then every 4 goes to a page, every 4 goes to a page, every 4 goes to a page. Pretty much like cakes coming out of a production line, every 4 of them go to a boxing. Every 4 of them go to a box. Every 4 go to a box. That's essentially what you do. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Also good? Okay, very simple. Every 4, every 4, every 4. So this value of n at the end of the day, if you do that, this value m is what? M simply equal to this value right here, which is the total number of. Now we call this as leaf level pages. These are our leaf level pages. So we're going to have n over b prime leaf level pages at the end of this process. Of course, there's some variation of this. If my box can hold 4 cakes, of course, in the worst case, in the best or worst case, depending on how you argue this, you pack 4 cakes into a box. But maybe I only pack 2 cakes into a box. This happened to me more than once. I go to a mall, buy a super nice box, open it, it's only half filled. Right? They do this all the time. You don't use maximum capacity of your container, right? Does that make sense? So the number of leaf level pages, this value of m, really, the relationship should be something like this. It's at least over b prime, but could be larger than this, depending on whether you are packing b prime entries into a page or less than that number of entries to a page. Right? That make sense? Yes or no? Of course, in the extreme case, what happens? If you use just 1 entry per page, you end up with n pages, right? Because you have n data entries. If you just pack 1 entry per page, you end up with n pages. Of course, you don't do this, because if you do that, this ends up just like a binary tree. You store a binary tree just as it is into disk. That really bad situation I just discussed. So you never really do this. But theoretically speaking, you can do that. It's kind of like you're boxing your cakes. Your box can contain 100 cakes per box, but you pack only 1 cake per box, and you sell that for $10. Versus you pack 100 cakes into a box, you sell for $10. That's essentially what we're talking about here. Okay? All right, so far so good. Any question on this? Okay, these are my leaf level pages. And once you understand the discussion on this, the remaining levels is the recursive step of what we just did. A recursive step of what we just did. What do I mean by that? Well, now these are my leaf level pages, right? They're done. Now I'm gonna make index entries for these leaf level pages. I'm going to make index entries for these leaf level pages. Index entry, recall what is index entry? So this is an index entry. So an index entry has only 2 parts. One is a search key value k and a page ID p. So once I have the leaf level pages, I will make index entries for them. Specifically, what I will do is I will make 1 index entry per page. That's it. 1 index entry per leaf level page. So for each leaf level page, I'm going to make an index entry. And specifically what I do, how do I make that index entry out of that leaf level page? Well, for any given leaf level page, I look at the smallest search key value from that page. So each leaf level page contains multiple data entries, right? I simply choose the data entry with the smallest search key value. In other words, the first data entry of that page, because data entries are sorted. So the data entry with the smallest search key value must be the first data entry of that page. So I take that search key value k of the first data entry of that page, and I augment that with the page ID of that particular leaf level page. So in other words, if I have a, suppose my leaf level page is like, I have a leaf level page like 20, 25. Suppose I pack only 3 data entries into a page and my B prime is 4. So that's kind of the picture here, right? I can store 4 data entries, but I'm using only 3 out of 4. Does that make sense? This is a leaf level page. Now, what I do with it? Well, I make an index entry out of it. Like I said, you take the smallest search key value out of this page, which is must be the first data entry out of it. 20. What's this? This is the ID of this, of this page. So suppose this is page I. Suppose this is page I. Then the index entry is 20 plus I. That's essentially what's going on here. Okay? All right, everybody follow this? Yes or no? Questions? No questions, I assume you all understand what's going on. Okay? Now, so you make an index entry out of each. So you do this, you essentially do this for every single page you have. Very simple. Now, what can you see, what can you claim about these index entries? Well, they are sorted. Naturally, they are sorted. Because the data entries from these leaf level pages are sorted. You take the smallest value out of each page, they must be still sorted. Like, it's like you sort kids by their age, like kindergarten, primary school, high school, college. Then you select one representative from each group, they're still sorted by their age. No matter which one you select out of that group. Does that make sense? Okay, so they are still sorted. So you don't have to sort them again. You do have to sort the data entries because the data entry may not be sorted in the same order as the records, but once you are beyond that level, you no longer need to do any sorting whatsoever. They are always sorted as you go up from this point onwards. Okay? And what do you do? Like I said, it's a recursion of what you did in the leaf level. You make index entry and you pack them into pages. And you get the next level. And what do you do after that? Do the same thing. You make index entries out of this level pages, pack them into pages. You go until you have one page left. So you pack them into pages. You go all the way until you have one page left. Okay? That's what you do. Question is how many levels you have. How many levels of such recursion you have to do. Well, to answer that, we need to look at, okay, in that packing of it, if we want a little bit, in this level, given what I said just now, how many pages you will have in this level? How many pages you should have at this level? Well, let's do the calculation together, okay? How many how many leaf level pages I have? If I pack B prime entries, assuming the basket, I'm fully utilizing my space, then I have n over B prime leaf level pages. Does that make sense? For n data entries. Right? That's what we said just now. Now, for the level above, how many index entries I have? Well, I make one index entry per leaf level page. So I must have n over B prime index entries in the level above. Yeah? Look at this. That's exactly what I did. And you pack them into pages. How many of them how many pages you need? Well, here is the interesting observation. If you're using alternative 2, which is a search key value k and a record ID, that's your data entry, right? the size of a data entry must be roughly the same as the size of a, so this is the data entry, this is the size of an index. They must be roughly the same. Because an index entry is what? Is the search key value k and page ID. A data entry is the search key value k and the record ID. Record ID and page ID roughly the same size. So they are roughly the same size. Which means how many index entry you can pack into a page? Roughly also B prime. The number of index entries you can pack into a page is also B prime. Does that make sense? Okay, with that being said, you have n over B prime index entry in the level above, and you are packing them into pages. B prime of them go to a page. How many pages do you have? That's what you get. Okay? And I asked someone to answer me, then how many pages you have in the level, in yet another level above? Given this discussion. It should be quite straightforward, right? N over B prime cube. Why? Because you have this many pages in this level, you make an index entry for each page, which means in the yet another level above, you have N over B prime squared number of index entries. And you pack B prime of them into a page. So it's N over B prime squared divided by B prime again. So it's N over B prime cube. So this continues until when? So you see the pattern. The pattern is you start with N over B prime pages. You reduce to N over B prime squared pages in the level above. N over B prime cube. Until when? Until you have one page left. That's your root. You stop, right? Question is, how many levels are there? Someone do the math for me? It's log B prime of N over B prime, right? You start with this value, you reduce by a factor of B prime every time. That's how long it takes to reduce to 1. Yes or no? Right? That's essentially what it is. But in big O notation, this is just log B prime of N. Right? Why? Because this is essentially log B prime of N minus log B prime of B prime, which is equal to 1. So it's this minus a constant. In big O, it's just log B prime of N. Yes? So far so good? So that's how many levels you have. Okay? So far so good? The only variation in our discussion is, like I said, you may not be packing B prime entries per page, per level. You may wonder why you don't want to do that. Well, I will explain that in a minute. But you have the choice of not packing that many into a page. Of course you can, but you may not want to. For reasons I'm going to explain in a minute. It's kind of like in hash index, right? You don't want to fully pack a bucket, because if you do that, a single insertion will lead to an overflow on that page. So you might want to leave some holes, leave some space on any given page, so that even if you have accidentally, you have a few more insertions, you don't immediately lead to an overflow situation right away. So that's the motivation for not packing B prime entries per page. Does that make sense? If you do that, the calculations change a little bit. Let me use a parameter rho, which is a packing ratio, which is between half and 1. Meaning I'm using 50% of my space, or I'm using 100% of my space. You may wonder why 50%? Why don't you go lower than 50? Well, if you go too low, you end up wasting your D space, and most importantly, you end up incurring too many IOs at the query time. Now think about the binary tree case is, I'm using just one. I'm packing just one entry, right? meaning I'm using a really low value threshold. Suppose I'm using a value between 0.5 and 1. So this calculation changes to, you basically have a row factor everywhere. That's essentially what it is. So this becomes, that's the only change you have. Okay? That's the only change you have to make. Does that make sense? All right. Now that comes with, that finished our discussion on this static data structure. This static data structure, as I said, even if you use this row factor, but if you have insertion later on, suppose you build this structure for the initial set of your data, and then you accept future insertions. Sooner or later, you may end up with overflow pages, such as this, in the leaf level. Because why? Because you want to make sure they're still in order with respect to the search key value k, but you run out of space on that particular page. So you have to allocate a new page, kind of a chain grow out of that existing page, that's kind of overflow. You may wonder what's the big deal? Looks like, still looks like pretty nice structure to me. I do my search, I come down, and I follow the overflow chain to find what I want. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
Eventually it's not going to be balanced and it's going to end up usually slow.
Yeah, it's already not balanced, right? Once you do the overflow. What's really the challenge though? You have to think about this as the D-space data structure. Huh? You have to lay all them to disk. Conceptually, this is just a tree with overflow chains and nothing wrong with it. If I come down, I do range search, come down, find my record, I go here, and I continue scan over there. What's wrong with it? Well, if you think about how you're going to organize them on disk, this is how you're going to organize them on disk. You start with data pages and leaf level pages, meaning these guys are stored consecutively on disk, followed by the consecutive storage of the leaf level pages. That make sense? Followed by the pages in the next level, so on and so forth. You have to push them back to disk in sequence, right? So data pages, leaf level pages, that first level index level pages, second level index level pages, so on and so forth, until the root page. All consecutive on disk. So far so good? Which is very nice. If you do sequential scan at leaf level, suppose I want to find all GPA values between 3 and 3.5. And suppose my index is built on GPA. So there's a difference between the following two queries, right? There's a difference between the following. Okay? This query versus Can someone tell me what's the difference of the two queries? Using this structure, suppose I build an index on GPA. GPA is my search key. What's the difference of the two queries? Is there any difference or there's no difference? Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. Forget about the index structure we have. Just look at this two queries. Are there any difference? Yes or no? How many say there is difference? Only 3? Open your eyes, guys. There's a difference, right? If you don't believe me, do a diff on Unix. Okay? It will tell you there's a difference. There is a difference, right? I don't think it takes a computer science master to understand this. No? there's a difference. Now, what's the significance of that difference? You know, I'm okay if you cannot answer the second question. I'm not okay if you cannot tell me there's a difference. Even my daughter, you know, probably can tell, oh, there's a difference, right? So I'm okay if you cannot tell the significance of that difference. That's okay. But it's not okay you tell me, oh, I cannot tell there's a difference of the two. You must be kidding me, right? You tell me that. So we all agree there's a difference. Now let me ask the second question, which is, what's the significance of that difference? Is there any significance at all? Or it doesn't really matter. You know, there's a difference, but so what? It's kind of like Salt Lake City and SLC. There's a difference, but so what? Does that make sense? Is there a difference? Yes. Is there any significance? No. But what about this? Is there a difference? Yes. Is the difference significant? Can someone tell me? Do you know what they are? DTW and DFW. So you guys don't travel that much, right? Who knows DTW? DTW is the airport code for Dallas. Detroit, you say, I made that mistake. Okay. DFW is the airport code for Dallas. So I was booking a travel 2 or 3 weeks ago. I made a mistake. I was trying to fly to DFW. I entered DTW. So I ended up booking a flight to Detroit rather than going to Dallas. I made yet another mistake the other time. Instead of SLC, I put SJC. Which airport is that? You better know, because that's probably where you end up interviewing at. Silicon Valley Airport. Okay? So there's a difference and there's a significance of that difference. But if you tell an airport, you know, an airline agent, Salt Lake City was SLC, yes, it's different, but there's no significance of that difference, right? So that's what I'm asking you. There's a difference of the two, but is there any significance introduced by that difference? If, there's the if, okay? Of course it depends on what you have, right? If I have an index like this on the GPA field, if I have an index of this on the GPA as a search key field, is there any significance when you write query like this versus when you write query like this? Anyone? Hoping I got a response. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the second one, you don't have to look at the data because you're already in there.
Okay, fantastic. For the second query, right? What happens? You go all the way to the leaf level, you're done. For the first query, you have to go all the way to the leaf level, find the data entries corresponding to those values in the range, but then follow the pointers, to go to the data page to fetch the record. So there's a huge difference. Why there is a huge difference? Well, not only you need to look for more pages, but most importantly, if you look at what happened here, the data entries are already sorted with respect to the GPA field. So if you do a range search for GPA between 3 and 3.5, once you find the first GPA value within 3 and 3.5, you can do linear scan, sequential scan at leaf level pages. But if you do this, and your data file is kind of like this, meaning if the pointers cross over each other, what that means, the records are not sorted with respect to the GPA field. That's the significant part of this. Okay? Now, if you do a search on GPA, you have to do random IOs. You are no longer looking at sequential IOs anymore. So not only you need to look at more pages, you are doing random IO for those pages too. So it's a huge difference in terms of query performance. Okay. So once you understand that, let's come back to try to understand the significance of overflow pages. Without overflow pages, word is is a beautiful place to be, right? You sequentially store the data pages, you sequentially store the leaf level pages. Then you can do what he has suggested, which is go down to the leaf level if you are going to answer this query. If you're going to answer this query, you go down all the way to the tree, to the leaf level, then you do sequential scan, sequential IOs. When you have no overflow pages. That make sense? Once you have overflow pages, what happens? Well, it becomes like this. This is data pages, this is index pages, the leaf level pages at the top of the index page region, okay? Sequentially together. The overflow pages, unless you're waiting to move all the pages to accommodate the overflow pages for them to be in place, which is super expensive when you index and data file become large. You are going to move all of them in order to make space for one page. That make sense? So typically you don't. So what you do is you, at the end of your index page region, which is the last page is your root page, you allocate more pages. You call this overflow page regions. Now that will introduce problems. If you do sequential scan on this picture here, conceptually you're doing sequential scan, but physically what you're doing, you're coming down sequentially, jumping here for a page, continue from here, come back, continue, come back. So you're breaking your sequential IOs into a segment of sequential, then random, sequential, then random. And if you recall the little experiment I showed you 2 or 3 weeks back on sequential IO versus random IO bandwidth, huge difference, right? Okay, so that explains why this is a bad idea to have overflow pages. That also explains why you want to introduce a factor of flow so that you don't fully pack a page so that they don't easily get overflowed. Eventually, I mean, if you're unlucky, eventually you will get overflow. Because I keep inserting into a page, what can you do? No matter what small row value you use, you're going to overflow at the end of the day. However, if you use a row value that's smaller than 1, it's always going to be better than fully utilize your page in terms of avoiding overflow down the road. Okay? So any question on this discussion? Okay, with that being said, let's look at a specific example. So this is a specific example. Suppose my B prime is just 2 for illustration purposes. In practice, B prime is always much larger than 2, of course. Right? So this is just as I'm fully utilizing the this page as well. So the value of rho in this case is 1. Right? I'm fully utilizing the page. And after given that, if I keep inserting data entries into this page, into this index structure, so 23, 48, 41, 42, and their corresponding record IDs, what will happen? Well, since it's a static data structure, you will end up introducing overflow pages like this. Imagine on disk, what happened is really data are consecutive to each other, followed by these 2 pages, followed by this page. And then only after that, you have this page and that page. Now, if you do linear scan, it used to be really nice. They are sequentially consecutive next to each other on disk. But now what happens? You have to do random IO again. So you end up without any sequential IO at the end of the day. Okay? So there's a huge difference in terms of performance when you do this. Alright, so that's the static structure. Now let's talk about the dynamic version of this. Just like in hashing, we started with the static hashing, then we went on with dynamic hashing, right? So how do we, essentially the idea is the same, right? The challenge is the same. Not the idea, the challenge is the same, which is how do you address those overflow pages? And that was the problem for static hashing. It's now again the problem for us. How do we address that? You follow me? All of you follow the discussion? So how do we address these overflow pages. That's essentially what it boils down to. And for that purpose, people have designed this structure called B plus tree. And a little bit of history on the terminology here. People initially designed the B tree, not B plus tree. And later on, people revise that and introduce B plus tree. So what I will do is, so B tree is somewhat of an obsolete data structure. So what I will do is I will focus talking about B plus tree. And only at the end of the day, I will provide a short comment on the difference between B plus tree and B tree. Okay? So let's focus on B plus tree. So the idea of B plus tree, if you look at it from a static point of view, it's just the same as the data structure we talked about. ISAM index. It's just a ISAM index structure. The only difference is it will not allow overflow pages to exist. And whenever quote-unquote overflow happens, it will dynamically rebalance the tree somehow. That's essentially the idea. Okay? So this is the B plus tree example. It's kind of just like a binary tree, per Didi's question earlier, binary tree packing into a much larger page. And you notice that here, in this case, we're using less than or equal to the left and greater than to the right. You may wonder, sometimes you use less than on the left and greater than or equal to on the right, where that equal sign goes. Well, it doesn't really matter. It's just a convention. Different people have different ways of using this. As long as you are consistent, that's fine. And if you put the equal sign to the left, then make sure you do that for every single node of your page, of your tree. If you put the equal sign to the right, then make sure you do that consistently across different pages as well. So that's all. So with this structure, you can easily answer this query, as I said. Right? You can easily answer this query. So before I talk about insertion and deletion, let's do some analysis. This analysis here is essentially the analysis I have already done. This is essentially the same analysis as I have already done. But here I'm using specific numbers for this and this. I'm using specific numbers for the index entry and data entry size. That's all I'm doing. Look at this, the page size is B, and record size is R bytes, and each key, search key is 4 bytes, and each pointer record in page ID is 4 bytes. And you're using alternate 2. Given this, what's the size of data entry? A size of data entry is simply 8 bytes. Search key value 4 bytes, record ID 4 bytes. And the index entry is also 4 bytes. Because that's just a search key value plus a page ID. Each is 4 bytes. You have n records in total, alternate 2 is used for data entry. How many pages you have in the data file? Well, it's just n divided by p divided by r. In this particular case, the b value we talked about many times is simply p divided by r. Page size divided by record size. That's how many records you can fit into a page. That makes sense? Given this notation here. How many data entries do you have? For n records, you are using alternate 2, so obviously you have n data entries. Size of data entry is 8, which means my b prime is essentially my b prime is simply p over 8. Page size divided by the size of your data entry. So the total number of pages in the leaf level is simply n divided by b prime, which is n divided by p divided by 8. So far, everybody follow the calculation so far? Right? Yes? And what about level above? Well, level above, you just, using I define f to be my, what I call the fan out. What is f? F is simply how many index entries you are, placing into a single page. How many index entries you are placing into a single page. And using the number we have on this slide, the way we calculate that is you have p bytes to use. Right? If you look at the index page structure, let's discount the space used by the leftmost pointer, which is a page ID, 4 bytes. So p minus 4. the remaining bytes will be used to store index entries. And each index entry is just 8 bytes. Okay? So divide by 8. That's my F. That's my file. In other words, how many index entry you can fit into a single page. In the best case, right? If you're using maximum capacity, if I'm using a ratio to quantify, I don't want to 100% fill off my page for the reason I just explained, right? I don't want overflow to happen too easily. So I end up wasting a little bit of space, but in return, I can defer that overflow to happen as much as possible. So I use some ratio. I've been using the value rho, but on the slide I've been using the value u. But they mean the same thing. I'll come back to the slide here. And u of this rho, they are the same. Right? U is just a ratio between 0.5 and 1, 0.5 and 1. So that's my found. With that being said, if you follow the discussion just now, with n prime pages in the leaf level, how many pages you will have in the level above is simply n prime divided by f. Why? Because you're going to have n prime index entries. You put f of index entry into a page, you end up with n prime divided by f index pages in the level above. And you have n prime divided by f squared in the level above that, so on and so forth. You do the math. So you have n prime pages in the leaf level, this many in the level above, and so on and so forth. The height of the tree will be simply log f base f of n prime. That's a simple calculation. And another interesting math to note is that if you do the summation of these values, n prime plus n prime divided by f, and so on and so forth. So what is equal to? Someone tell me. This is roughly equal to roughly equal to 2n prime. Roughly. So in big O notation, this is roughly. This is just big O of n prime. So this is linear to n prime. Linear to n prime. Linear to n prime. Okay. Okay, so that's a simple analysis of B plus tree. In other words, the entire tree, no matter how many levels you have, amounts to roughly just the number of pages in your leaf level. Less than 2 times of that. Less than 2 times of that. And the whole thing is much, much less. Another thing to note is this n prime value. This is the number of pages in the leaf level, right? This is much, much less than the number of pages in the data file. That makes sense? In other words, at the end of the day, what we can claim, the entire index, the number of pages needed for your entire index is much, much less than the pages needed for your data file. In other words, it's a small overhead to pay. It's a small overhead to pay. Okay? All right. And this kind of critical, right? Imagine I give you a task. I want you to remember every single item in your house where it is placed at. Huh? That would be nice. Whenever I need to find an item, I no longer need to search through my drawers in my house. I can find it right away using that index. Right? Beautiful, right? But wait a minute. If you come back and tell me, yes, I can tell you, I can index this, which is every single item where it is in your house. But to store this information, I need a space as big as your house, or maybe 2 times of your house. Do you still want to do it? Probably not. But if I tell you, your house is this big, right? And I can index and tell you exactly where each item locates in your house, I only need 1/10, or even better, 1/100th of the space in your house to do this. Would you be willing to do it? Yes. Hell yes. So space overhead is important, right? You don't want to solve one problem by introducing a giant big overhead. That's why we're doing this calculation, right? The index space, the total number of pages in your index is much, much smaller than the data file itself. Using our analogy metaphor, what we're saying is, to remember every single item in your house, where they are, I only need maybe 1/100th of the size of your house to do that. I don't need the entire house to do this, to remember this. That defeats the purpose. That make sense? Okay. So next we're going to talk about index classification. There are two classification. One is called classed index, one is called unclassed index. They differ by essentially whether the data entries are sorted in the same order as records in the data file. On the right hand side is a cluster index example where data entries are sorted in the same order as your data records. On the other hand, that's an unclassed index example where data entries are not sorted in the same order as your data records. I'm going to give you a specific example. So this is a cluster index. As you see, my B prime is 4 in this case. Each leaf level page holds 4 data entries. What's the value of B? Number of records per page is simply 2. So in this case, B prime is 4 and B is 2. Right? Yes or no? Right? I'm holding 4 data entries. I can hold up to 4 data entries per page in the leaf level. I can hold at most 2 records per page in the data file. And the reason for that is you have the same page size, but record size is much bigger than data entry size. In practice, the ratio of the two is much bigger than 2, by the way. Meaning B prime is more than a factor of 2 of B. But this is just for illustration purpose. Okay? So this is the cluster index. Why I say that? Because if you look at the pointers, meaning the record IDs for those data entries, they never cross over each other. What that means is data entries are sorted in the same order as records are. Suppose these are age values. So my data entries are sorted by age. My records are also sorted by age. That's why the pointers never cross over each other. And what's the significance of this? Well, it goes back to the 2 queries I asked you earlier. If I'm asking you to return all records, all students whose age greater than or equal to 24, how do you do this with this index? Well, you follow the pointer, come down, you open. So you follow the pointer, you load this page, you find the right pointer to follow, you come down here, you find the data entry, first data entry in your range, you follow the pointer, come down to the data file. At this point, what can you do? Well, you can do linear scan in the data file. You no longer need to go back to the leaf level to find the next data entry. Why? Because records are sorted in the same order as data entries are. So you can simply do linear scanning in the data file. If you have an unclusters index on the other hand, what happens? So this is the index stays exactly the same, but records are no longer sorted in the same order. That's what happens, right? So the pointers start crossing over each other. What happens now? You can no longer just come down and do linear scan here because the ordering is messed up. What you have to do is come down here, find the first data entry in your range, follow the pointer to load the record, come back, do linear scan at the leaf level, meaning load the next data entry from your leaf level. Come down, come back up, down, come back up, and so on and so forth. You end up paying way more number of IOs while you're doing that. And these are The leaf level are still sequential I/O, meaning this is still a sequential I/O. But all of these guys become what? Random I/Os. How many random I/Os you have to pay specifically? 1 per each data tree in your range. 1 per each data tree in your range. How many sequential I/O you have to pay in this case? Well, it's simply T over B. T is the number of records in your range. B is number of records per range, per page. Versus, so that's the cluster index case. Of course, you have to pay the height of the tree, which is, I just use height of the tree. But this versus class what? In the unclassed index case, what you have to do? Well, you have to pay T over B prime IOs to load all data entries in your range. If you have T records in the range, you're going to have T data entries in the range. But you don't have T over B IOs, you only have T over B prime IOs because you're packing B prime data entries per page plus what? 1 IO per data entry in your range plus T. And these are okay, so that's the difference you're looking at. So there's a huge difference of the two approaches. Right? Okay. Now I'm gonna talk about, next we're gonna talk about the dynamic insertion and deletion of the B plus tree. We don't have time to cover both, but using the remaining 5 minutes, I'm hoping I can cover the insertion part of it. So you can start working on your projective. Okay, insertion of B plus tree. I'm going to skip some of the discussion on the analysis of B plus tree. We'll come back and revisit that because I want to get the discussion on insertion done today. Okay, so insertion of B plus tree. So the whole point is to manage the overflow pages, meaning that we don't want to have overflow pages. So the idea is you're going to take a data tree and insert into your B plus tree and avoid those overflow pages. Okay? So the first step is very simple. You need to make sure that you are always inserting in place with respect to the ordering at the leaf level, period. Because you have to maintain sorted order on all data entries, including this new data entry. Right? So the first step is to find the correct leaf level page L that this data entry is supposed to go into. And if this page L has space, what happens? Well, it's a beautiful day. You're done. Place the data entry into the page. Pin the page to the buffer. Update the page by inserting this entry into the page. Mark it dirty, then you're done. Eventually, buffer manager will write the data page back to disk. There's no layout or anything like that needs to be done because the page has space. That's it. So that's very simple. Yes.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
Are you if you can insert it, then you just insert it at the end, or do you maintain like an internal order?
You maintain internal order in the page as well.
Okay.
Very good question. Okay. But that, sometimes if you don't pay that little extra cost, it doesn't really matter that much because at that point, within the page, if you bottleneck this I/O, within page, if they're sorted nice, you can do an in-memory binary search when you're doing the query. But even without that ordering, in the worst case, I do a linear scanning. But everything without in-memory, so it's not too bad. That means okay. Now, if you don't have space, what do you do? I'll show you here. What to do. So the picture is you have a B plus tree, and this is my leaf level pages. So you have a data tree you want to insert into this tree. You follow the search, you find where it's supposed to go. Suppose it's supposed to go here. And this is the page L. That make sense? That's a big picture. And what happens? There's no space on this. Fully occupied. So what do? You introduce a new page called L prime. Instead of just leaving like that, that's the overflow solution, right? What we're gonna do is we're gonna move this pointer. Instead of introducing an overflow, what I'm gonna do is update this pointer to come down here, and this come down here. Meaning, push this new page into the leaf level instead of leaving it as a leaf as an overflow page. Does that make sense? But while you're doing that, you need to redistribute entries in this page. Inside the page, you have some data entries, right? You're gonna leave some of them in that page, and some of them push over to this new page. And this new data entry could go either here or here, depending on how you do the split. Are you done? Well, the challenge is you're not done yet, because at the level above, that's the picture at the level above. You haven't indexed this new page in the level above yet. Does that make sense? So the parent level, as it is, doesn't know the existence of this new page. So what you have to do is, just like the earlier discussion, how we make the parent entry pages, the parent level page in the first place, I'm going to make a new entry for this by taking the smallest value out of it, the search key value k, and a pointer back to this, which is the smallest search key value out of this page, just like we did before. And I take this entry, new entry, and I place that into the level above. That make sense? Now, what happened in this case? Well, it's a recursion of what we just did. If there's space, you're done. If you have no space, what happens? You follow the same split procedure and you proceed from there. That's it. And the whole thing can recursively go up all the way to the root level of the tree. If you end up splitting the root level, what happens? You create a new root level page, the height of the tree increases by 1. Okay? The only catch, before I let you go, is that in the leaf level, you make this index entry by copying the key, the smallest search key value, into this entry. In the index level, when you do split, you no longer copy the key up, you push the search key value up. You push the search key value up. Meaning that you don't leave a copy of that search key value behind in the page to be splitted in the index level. So what do I mean by that? Let me use a special example to illustrate this. So suppose I'm inserting 8. I'm going to overrun for like 3 minutes, okay? Running through this example here. Suppose I want to insert this value 8, data entry with value 8. It goes here, obviously. So that's my page out. Do I have space? I don't. So I split. Suppose I do a 2-3 split. Meaning, at this point, my B prime, the value of B prime is 4. I can hold 4 data entries per page, but I have 5 entries coming to this page now. So I have to make a decision. How do I split? I do 2 or 3 or 3 or 2. I do 2-3 split. So 2 of the data entries will stay in this page, and 3 data entries go to the new page. So I end up with 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8, like that. When I do that, what's the new entry I made out of this new page, which is 5, and the page ID of that. So that's new data entry, new index entry I made for that new page. You follow me? And I insert that, I take that and try to insert into this page. Do I have space there? No, I don't. So I have to split this page and create 2 pages, which is 5, 13. If I do a 2-3 split again, it will be 5 and 13, and then 17, 24, and 28 on the other page. Does that make sense? Imagine there are 5 and 13, 17, 24, and 28 on the other page. And then I made a new page on top of it, because it's a root level, I need to create a new page for that. here is a critical deal. For that page on the right, which is 17, 24, and 30, I push the key value up, which is 17. You may wonder why I push instead of copy. The reason for that is for index level page, there is that leftmost pointer. You don't actually need to leave the smallest search key value behind because the leftmost pointer is a special case. It just needs a page ID. It doesn't need a search key value for it. So you push the value up instead of copy the value up. But for leaf level, you need to do copy up instead of push up. Why? Because every search key value corresponds to an actual record on data file. You have to leave a copy behind. You cannot push up. So copy up at the leaf level, push up at the index level. That's it. With that being said, you should be able to implement the insertion part of VPath tree. Come back on Thursday, I will continue the discussion on deletion. Okay?